All right, there we go. We got audio now. Okay, guys, I'm streaming in a different location. About to do a bit of a weather update here, and then we will get rolling. I'm just going to share this over to Twitter real fast, and then start my Facebook live stream, and we'll get rolling. Hello to everyone joining on. Okay, now starting the Facebook live stream. How's everybody doing? Everyone watching? Hopefully the stream is working okay for you guys. The internet in my whole entire neighborhood is down, so I'm having to stream at a different location. Okay, guys, to everyone joining on, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let a few more people join on, and then we're going to talk about some of what is going on. And currently, it is getting really cold across the area. Look at some of these temperatures. For example, up in Arlington, it is down to 7 degrees there at the airport. When I left my house, it was down to 13 in Lake Stevens, also 13 just north of Lake Stevens. East of the Cascades, we got cold air spilling in east of the Cascades with widespread below zero temperatures. Look at some of these temperatures up in northern Washington. There in Omak, it's down to 0, -2. Over there in Winthrop, it's already down to 19 below zero there. Over in Manzama, down to 13 below zero. And then as we look over there in northeast, look at all these negative temperatures. It's getting really cold out there. But I'm also really impressed with how fast it is cooling off on the west side of the Cascades. Already got widespread teens, some areas with low teens. Look at these single-digit numbers right up here by Cedar-Woolley. Look at that in the foothills there. 9 degrees, 8 degrees, 10 degrees there in Mount Vernon. 5 degrees out here in the foothills by Deer Creek. It is getting cold. By the way, if you're joining on Facebook, go ahead and heart this post if you love snow. Go ahead and wow this post if you hate snow. And if you're over on YouTube, go ahead and leave me a comment letting me know what you're hoping will happen. And by the way, Super Chat has been enabled here on YouTube. So if you want your comment to be highlighted towards the top, you can do that. And that's also a way to support me as a weather dude, content creator, person thing. So let's look around at the temperatures just a little bit more here. Look at this. Wow, look at that. Way out there on the northwest Washington tip. 13 degrees way out there. 19 degrees here between Beaver and Forks. 22 degrees way out there in La Push. Down here by Tahola, 25 degrees. It is truly a cold night across Washington State, and it's only 9 p.m., and it's only going to get colder. 27 degrees in Ocean Shores, 26 in Westport, 26 down there in Long Beach. And then we got some cold air starting to filter out of the gorge in towards the Vancouver, Washington area. Look at that, already in the low, actually upper 20s there in the west side of Vancouver, and it's getting colder as some cold air filters in through the gorge there. As we go into eastern Washington, going to look at some more of those temperatures, and then we're going to do a bit of a weather update. Look at that, 0 in Ellensburg, 13 in Yakima, and that cold air is still kind of moving south. By the way, this is kind of a cool thing. So this is looking at the infrared satellite imagery, and this is typically used to be able to see what the temperature of cloud tops is. So you can see the scale here on the right, okay? So there, the white is like 15 Celsius below zero. The dark pink is about 20 Celsius below zero. Thank you to whoever just gave stars over on Facebook. And when you get into the green, that's when you start getting into like the 45°C range. So that said, all of this purple moving into eastern Washington, that's not cloud tops. That is Arctic cold moving down the east side of the Cascades. And you can clearly see the crest of the Cascades right here where the cool air is beginning to kind of dam up. It's like almost like water filling up against a dam. It's damming up against the eastern side of the Cascades. And soon some more of that cool air is going to begin spilling over the Cascades. As a matter of fact, you can begin to see the cooling areas on the west of Cascades, which is pretty impressive to see. I'm going to click on a more localized spot and do a loop right here. Let this load a minute. But you can see it beginning to cool on the western side of the Cascades. Look at those little areas of pink showing up there in western Skagit County. And you can see that cold air coming further and further towards the west as the dam is getting full. And once it gets completely full, more of the cold air is going to spill over the spillways, which the spillways for Arctic air here in Washington State is typically the Fraser Valley and the Gorge. But when that cold air gets deep enough over there in eastern Washington, it can also spill over the I-90 gap, the Highway 2 gap, up there by Rockport, etc. And so it's going to be a cold night as this goes on. Okay, so let's do a little bit more of a weather update here. And by the way, feel free to ask any questions. I'll try to look over and make sure that this is working every now and then. Is it getting kind of choppy for you guys? I can try to drop the frame rate here if it's getting too much. I don't have the good internet that I usually have in my house, so I just dropped the frame rate on my settings. Try to make it a little smoother for you guys. Let me know if that helped. Hopefully that should improve the smoothness of the stream. It was really frustrating today. The internet was just out all day long in my neighborhood, but apparently Xfinity is upgrading the internet, so I shouldn't really complain, but I've had an outage all day long. All right, let me know if the stream quality just got a little bit smoother for you guys, and then I'll continue on with this update. So, looking at the NAM 3KM for temperatures here overnight, let's move forward to about the time we are now. So it's 9 o'clock right now. There we go. So looking at the 9 o'clock, maybe. You're going to be all glitchy on me right now? All right, looking at the 9 o'clock hour on the NAM 3KM, it's actually kind of underdoing temperatures, and it gets it really cold tonight. The only area it's maybe overdoing it is up by Whatcom County, where the temperatures, they're starting to get into the single digits. By 9 p.m., the NAM 3KM had it getting into like the mid single digits. But down here in Snohomish County, it had it being about 19 degrees in Arlington, when in reality, it is 7 degrees there in Arlington and 7 degrees in North Marysville. I also got a report from someone out by Lake Goodwin that it's 7 degrees out there. And Lake Stevens, low teens. And it's just impressive cold. So let's see how cold the NAM 3KM gets it throughout the rest of the night. Let's see if this loop works a little better now. All right, there we go. So 10 p.m., starting to get a little closer to what it is now. But watch what it does later tonight as the winds begin picking up. You can see some cold air being pulled out of the Cascade gaps along the Highway 2 gap, along the I-90 gap, and it gets it down to like 10 degrees in Everett. That'd be really impressive if that happened. In single digits in like Sultan, Monroe. It might not be that far-fetched with how cold it already is out there. And then tomorrow, as we get into the day, it keeps it just frigid along the I-5 corridor, obviously very cold east of the Cascades. Gets it down to 11 below zero over there in Spokane. Just impressive. Thank you for the stars, Hannah. Thank you, Terry, for the stars over on Facebook. Okay. Yeah, really, I was just kind of wanting to do this live stream just to kind of show you guys how widespread this cold is getting. I'm really impressed with that cold there in Arlington. It's awesome. Let's turn on the station plot wind and gust, and we can see that the easterly wind is beginning to start out there by index. And look at that, by index it's down to 18. Let's take a closer look at this weather station here and see how it's behaved over the last couple hours in index. By the way, if you're enjoying hanging out with me over there on YouTube tonight, go ahead and give this video a like. Leave me a comment. Let me know how you're doing. And also consider subscribing. Okay, so there you can see it's dropped a couple degrees over there. And the easterly wind has picked up a little bit since 4 p.m. And as that is happening, look at the dew point dropping. So that's a big indicator right there that more Arctic air is filtering into index. At 4 p.m. we had a dew point of 21, and now there we have a dew point of 9. So more Arctic air is beginning to filter into the Highway 2 corridor, and that's going to be filtering towards Gold Bar and whatnot. That sensor right there is completely broken by Monroe. Now let's take a look down there by North Bend. Okay, so we got the easterly winds starting in North Bend. Look at that. At the summit of Snoqualmie Pass, it is 3 degrees, gusting to 19. Looking at the weather data for there, we can take a look at the dew points. Okay, so at 4 p.m., there was a dew point of 5, and it was 9 degrees. And then, as those easterly winds have picked up even more, the dew point is now down to -2. So the Arctic air is beginning to spill over the I-90 Snoqualmie Pass even more. It actually says there's light snow there. So let's take a look at the radar real fast. I don't know if I believe that. Maybe. But yeah, so Arctic air is spilling over the I-90 gap as well. And then looking at... Wow, look at that. Already gusting to 38 there in Tanner. That wind is just going to increase. Let's see if the dew points are also dropping over there by Tanner and North Bend. We can kind of have an idea of that. Yep, look at that. The dew points are dropping rapidly over there by Tanner. So more cold air in modified Arctic air mass is moving in towards Tanner. There's also some light snow being reported there. So it must kind of be like a low-level modified Arctic air mass just evaporating out any of the snow or the moisture in the air in the form of light snow. So you're going to notice those cold temperatures even more as that comes. And there's also wind chills advisories issued for the East Puget Sound lowland areas. If you're watching over on Facebook, hello to all of you guys. Go ahead and heart this post if you love snow. Go ahead and wow it if you hate snow. And if you hate freezing rain, go ahead and react to this little hug emoticon. All right, now the one more spot I want to check for where cold air is spilling in is we'll check here. Look at those strong easterlies beginning up there. Near the Pierce-King County line on Highway 410 by Highway 410 and Crystal River Ranch Road. This is a higher weather station. It's up at 2,400 feet. But regardless, let's see when those easterly winds started picking up there. So the easterly winds started picking up there at about 5. And you can also see the temperatures dropping rapidly. Look at that. That's awesome. So it got up to 30 degrees there today at 1 p.m. And then look at this. As those easterly winds picked up, The dew points rapidly dropped off from being in the low 20s down to 2 dew point with a temperature of 9. So we got cooled air spilling over towards Enumclaw area now too. We can see if the temperatures are dropping there. I don't know if the easterly winds have started in Enumclaw or not. Thank you, Terry, for the stars. Back up to 8. Are there clouds overhead, Patricia, where you are? Is there any low-level clouds? I'm curious. Thank you, Wendy, for the stars over on Facebook. Really appreciate that. It seems like... Okay, there we go. So it's 6 degrees in Enumclaw. Light wind. Let's see if it's out of the east. Still out of the northwest. Okay, so the easterly wind has not began in Enumclaw just yet. But looking at the model data, we can see when those winds will begin to start. So, skipping forward. So it's 9 p.m. right now. This is a little bit, it's like about spot on the HER for the start time of that wind. Up there in Whatcom County, it's already probably pretty windy as well. Let's take a look at that real fast for Whatcom County. Oh yeah. That Fraser River outflow is still going strong out there. Okay, but let's see how strong it gets it on here. So 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m., the wind is picking up even more. 12, and then as we go into the night, in the early morning, it has it gusting to about 50 miles per hour there by Tanner and North Bend. And look how strong it's gusting down there by Portland. The Vista House down there is going to be insane. And then as we go later into the day tomorrow, the easterly winds are also going to start picking up there in the Highway 2 gap tomorrow morning, but then later in the morning it starts picking up even more. Possibly 50 mile per hour gusts out there by maybe, I'm going to look up that coordinate and find out exactly where that spot is. 47.90, comma dash 121.59. So that stronger wind is right by... That is not correct. Oops, I typed it in wrong. 4790. There we go. So that stronger wind is just to the north of Gold Bar and Index, right there. And so this area of strong wind right over here is probably just to the north of like Skykomish and things. So down here in the valley is maybe gusting to like 40 miles per hour tomorrow morning. And then some of that wind will get all the way out towards like Monroe and Snohomish. And as it's doing that, it'll keep on reinforcing cold temperatures. Look at this. With this loop load here, we can look at the NAM 3 cam and it shows this pretty well. You see those like corridors of cold air, and it maintains those corridors. Looking at the HER. And then as we go into, I think the HER warms it up a little bit too much tomorrow, actually. Yeah. So yeah, cold night. And then we got freezing rain coming after another really cold day tomorrow. So I don't know if you guys watched the YouTube video update I put out, but if you are more in the mood for a quicker hitting style thing, I put out a YouTube video earlier. Brenda, it's already windy in Gold Bar. I thought it was snowing, but it's blowing snow off the trees. Oh, maybe that's what's going on over there by North Bend. Okay, good. Already windy over there. Good to know. Love Wall asks, is it supposed to be almost 50 degrees this weekend? Yes. As a matter of fact, this weekend it's probably going to feel balmy compared to what we've been getting. Gonna look at some YouTube comments real quick. Oh, I see that we got a couple super chats. Okay, so Bradley Castaneda, thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate that over on YouTube. What station map am I using? So that station map that I'm using is from the National Weather Service. This is their weather and hazards data viewer. I can show you where to find this really quick. I'm going to move this down so you can see my search bar there. So in the search bar, you type in weather. Oops, can't type. Weather.gov. And it brings you to this nice website from the National Weather Service. And the way I navigate to that map is click on Northwest Washington, or just West Washington in general. And then you click on current conditions and it brings this drop down menu. And then you click on observations and it brings you to this handy dandy map. I'm gonna make my pointer a little bit bigger for you guys. And sorry about that, didn't mean to bring it up on that screen. Okay, and then yeah, you have a lot of different options here. So this is just looking at the station plots. If you click on observations right here, this brings up a whole bunch of different options. So here, you got it on station plot. Basically what a station plot is it can show you multiple things. I'll turn on everything that this has, all the different elements. So if you turn on all the different elements, each one of these station plots is from just one station, okay? So let's look at the Arlington station. I'll use this as an example. So in Arlington, the black number is temperature. This green number right here, or blue number, excuse me, is dew point. This green number is the humidity level. And this blue number is air pressure. And so it's helpful. You can see a whole bunch of different things at once. And go up and look at Bellingham Airport station plot. It's got even more going on. So here, and you can also turn up the font size, which is kind of nice. Right there. So here, look at this. It's a pressure of 1038, it's a pressure of 1038, a temperature of 12. Dew point, I think, that's the humidity level is 43%, dew point of -6, and it's gusting to 38. And then other things that this has to offer is you can just look at the precipitation totals for a day. You can look at just air temperature if you want to, and that brings up just air temperature on the map. You can look at just wind gusts if you want to. You can look at max wind gusts for the day. So look at that. Bellingham Airport gusted to 52 miles per hour. Over in Linden, they had a gust up to 43 miles per hour. So you can do a whole lot on this website here. It's really, really helpful. For the sake of tonight, I'm going to keep it on just temperature, wind, and gust. I hope that was helpful. And Theresa Birch over on YouTube, thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate that. And thank you, Cody Campbell, for the stars. I really appreciate that. Okay, looking at more of your questions now. Yeah, it's very, very cold. Okay, let's look at a little bit more of that freezing rain event. I'm actually going to pull up YouTube on a separate window so I can see both the Facebook chat and the YouTube chat at the same time. So just 1 second as I do that. Okay. So looking at the freezing rain potential. The National Weather Service in Spokane has issued quite a few winter weather warnings for southwest Washington. So I want to go ahead and take a look at some of those winter storm warnings for any of you that might live down there. So this is for the South Washington Cascade. So I'm not going to focus on the mountains as much. And hopefully you guys can see the text. I'll drag this over a little bit more so you can see that better. Okay. And that's for... Okay, here we go. This one includes portions of Washington State. So in Washington, this is for the western Columbia River Gorge and the central Columbia River Gorge on the north side of the Columbia River. There is a wind chill advisory in effect and a winter storm warning in effect that goes into effect tomorrow at 4 p.m. And it is for a winter storm warning, heavy mixed precipitation, expected total snow accumulations of 4 to 6 inches, and then ice accumulations of 1/2 to 1 inch down there in the gorge, possibly even more. Winds gusting as high as 75 miles per hour on the Cascade Locks up there by the Vista House. It's probably going to get even stronger. Expect power outages and tree damage due to the ice. Travel could be very difficult. Patchy blowing snow, significant reduced visibility. It's going to be really, really nasty. Okay, now this is for the South Washington Cascade foothills area. So there's a wind chill advisory and a winter storm warning in effect from 4 p.m. to 1 p.m. Winter storm warning, heavy mixed precipitation, total snow accumulations of up to 1 inch of ice and 1/10 of an inch up to total accumulations of up to 1 inch and ice accumulations of 1/10 of an inch up to 1/2 inch, and winds gusting to 15. So that could be a nasty storm for the South Washington Cascade foothills, and that goes into effect 4 p.m. tomorrow. And then I think this is for the greater Vancouver area. So if you're down in Vancouver, there's a winter storm warning in effect down there as well. Heavy mixed precipitation, total snow accumulations of up to 1 inch, and ice accumulations of 1/4 to 1/2 an inch. And that goes into effect from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. Friday. Power outages and tree damage is likely. Could be really nasty. And then here's a warning for the southwest Washington coast. Goes into effect 2 p.m. to 7 a.m. Significant icing expected. Total ice accumulations of 1/10 of an inch to 3/10 of an inch. And that might not sound like a lot, but you get that much ice accumulated on a road, it'll be nasty. And there's power outages and tree damage that can happen even with that little ice. Before I get too much further ahead of myself here, I'm going to look at some more of your questions. Make sure that we're going good. Okay. Cool. All right. Going to keep an eye on that chat box there for both Facebook and YouTube. Thanks for the stars, Rachel. Really appreciate it. Deborah Porch says she's quite worried about the freezing rain. Yeah, it could be interesting. It looks like it's going to be worse from about Seattle areas south. Up in Whatcom County could get it pretty bad too, right near Sumas. North Bend could get it bad. I think areas like Index and Sultan could probably get it pretty bad as well. I hate Diet Cola on YouTube just said, I drove from North Marysville to Lake Stevens and the roads were mostly dry and bare. Must have been the main roads. No problem, Elise. Thanks for the stars. Looks like some upslope snow is starting over by Port Angeles, says Adam. Actually, no, Keith Evans said that. Let's take a look at the radar one more time. Yeah, sure enough. It looks like there is some upslope snow kind of going over there. Cool. Gonna adjust this window so it's... Alright, I gotta start talking about that ice storm and then I gotta wrap this up at some point here. Okay, 1 second. Hang on. Okay. So, looking at the European again here. So yeah, freezing rain could start on the southwest coast as early as maybe 6 or 5 p.m., 7 p.m. 7 p.m. it starts coming into the Vancouver area as well. I'm probably not going to go that far south tomorrow. Tomorrow evening, I might check out what's going on up there in the passes with the wind or something in the snow. But then by Friday morning, early Friday morning, like 1 a.m., maybe a little earlier, is when it really starts to pick up ice, freezing rain in places like Olympia, Tacoma. And then this pink line right here, that would likely be like a mix or sleet. And then by 4 a.m., it has freezing rain going all the way up to like Granite Falls, down to areas like Enumclaw. And then by 7 a.m., still doing freezing rain in places like Seattle, mixtures in other areas. And by the way, it's snowing up in Whatcom County until at least 6 a.m. or so. If you live out in Port Angeles and Neah Bay, you're also probably going to get some freezing rain up there and sleet. And then you guys switch over to rain maybe around 7 or so. It should clear out the warm air a little faster. And then notice how the cold air hangs on a little bit longer here by the I-90 corridor. We still have that gradient right there. And so there's probably going to be reinforced cold air over I-90 and Snoqualmie, and it's going to keep ice going there at Snoqualmie Pass and possibly North Bend for a longer amount of time. And then down there in the gorge, it's just an ice storm all the way through Saturday morning potentially. And then we got a really big warm-up that happens. Look at this. It starts off as maybe even more ice up there at Snoqualmie, and then a big ice storm potentially. Oops, sorry. Crap. And then some more ice for areas like Yakima, Ellensburg, whatnot. But yeah, this is looking at the next storm for Saturday. It's going to be a wet one. Look at that big rain coming through the area during the day on Saturday. Snow levels rise. Snoqualmie Pass could get a mixture of like sleet and rain. South Cascades might turn to all rain. And then looking at the 24-hour rain totals from that one. Yeah, look at that. Just really wet. Lots of rain. Lots of rain for the mountains. This could cause some flooding on small streams in the lowlands and stuff like that with some of the snow that's melting, and maybe even a couple issues up in the mountains. Maybe 2 to 3 inches accumulated in the mountains or something like that. But again, let's look at that accumulated ice map to show you guys how much could accumulate. When I first saw this, I like notably gasped. I just couldn't believe it. So there's that Saturday burst right there of freezing rain on the east side. But for now, let's look at just through Friday at 10 p.m. So yeah, ½ inch for Tacoma, Olympia. The foothills get a bunch. That's where the winter storm warnings are issued down there. Portland area, Vancouver area, about ½ inch as well. But look at the gorge, potentially 1.5 inches there in North Bend, potentially even more. And then there in Snoqualmie Pass with that additional burst that happens on Saturday, it could get up past an inch of ice up there at Snoqualmie Pass, and a bunch in eastern Washington as well. If you live out in the Bay, maybe a half inch. Yeah, this could be a nasty deal. All right, gonna look over at the chats a little bit more here. I see there have been no more super chats, so I'll just look at some of the regular questions in here. John, you're welcome. No problem for the update. By the way, if I'm squinting really big, it's just because my display on my MacBook is starting to go out. I got to get it replaced. Thankfully, I've got AppleCare. I'm actually going to pull up that chat, the YouTube chat, on my phone here so I can read it a little easier. Yeah, and then later in the day on Friday, Adam, it does warm up. That's the crazy thing. So, I mean, we got warmer air coming in aloft. That's why this is going to happen. Let's take a look at this right here. So, at the surface, we got freezing air, but aloft, let's take a look at these temperatures, 925s. So, right now, we got a bunch of cold air entrenched over the area. And it's going to stay cold through tomorrow. I really wish my home internet was working. It's work internet's kind of... And then, so here on Friday, you can start seeing some warmer temperatures coming in at the 925 millibar level. And then, look at this. One second here. So, yeah, that's what I thought. So 925 millibar, this is about 2,500 feet aloft. It's going to be getting above freezing, about 2,500 feet above the surface by about, this is 4 a.m. right here, above freezing, 2,500 feet off the ground. So keep that in mind. It's above freezing, 2,500 feet off the ground. But at the surface, we still have freezing temperatures. Yeah. And so if you look at a sounding, you can see that warming right there. So still cold up to about, 6,000 feet. But then at 6,000 feet to about 2,500 feet or so, or less even, it is above freezing, just above the ground, and then at the ground it's freezing. So up here in this saturated layer, we're going to have snow that falls, and then the snowflakes are going to fall into the warm layer right here. And what I'm looking at here, just to explain, this is the freezing mark, 0 degrees Celsius, and then you follow this blue line up into the atmosphere, and we're kind of looking like at a weather balloon, and the wind directions and speeds and what's happening to that weather balloon temperature-wise as it goes further up in the atmosphere. So this is the freezing line in the atmosphere right here. So here at the surface, it's below freezing. It quickly goes above freezing, maybe like 1,000 feet or a little bit more above the ground. And then by about 5,000 feet, it goes below freezing again. So as the snowflakes that develop up here fall into that shallow warming layer right there, those snowflakes are going to melt and turn into super cold raindrops. And then as those super cold raindrops fall into the frozen, freezing layer of air at the surface, they'll become even more super cold. And then when they hit the surface, they'll instantly freeze on contact with the ground. So that's fun. And then it will eventually completely warm up at the surface as we go throughout the day Thursday, and the thaw will begin. So yeah, by 7 p.m. on Friday, look at that, we'll have temperatures in the upper 30s to low 40s in the lowlands after this freezing rain event. And then as we go into Saturday, by 4 p.m. on Saturday, it'll be in the upper 40s, 50s on the coast, maybe even getting into the mid 50s down there in Oregon. So yeah, a warm up is coming. All right, looking at some of your questions here real quick. By the way, if you're liking this content over on YouTube, go ahead and please express that via a like, and also consider subscribing. All right, looking at the Facebook comments here. Thank you so much for the Stars Love Wall. I appreciate your continued support. Do I sound deeper here with the microphone, Michelle? I think with this microphone I tend to talk a little bit lower. And yeah, I don't know. I don't usually talk this softly in person. All right, looking at more of your questions here. Wait, is it actually glitching? Is my voice like deep glitching? Let me know if that's something that's happening. That's kind of weird if that's the case. Catherine Macy over on Facebook. Is South Everett going to see a lot of freezing rain? Maybe. Right now, the National Weather Service, they put out a forecast. By the way, I could show you that real quick. They put out a new graphic that I wanted to show you guys. At least I thought they did. Where'd it go? There it is. So this is the National Weather Service's idea of what might happen. It could be more than this, though, according to the Euro. But for widespread area, they show a lot of the area getting up to at least 1/10 of an inch of ice. Places like North Bend getting at least 2.5 inches. And then areas in Everett, they have getting less than 1/10 of an inch of ice. But out there by areas east of Port Townsend, they have areas getting at least 1/10 of an inch of ice. But believe it or not, even that amount of ice could cause huge issues considering the surface everywhere is freezing right now. And then they also have a snow totals map. Could start off as snow in some areas, and it could stay snow for a little bit longer up there in places like Whatcom County, possibly 3 inches up there in places like Linden. All right. Let's... Just an incredible Arctic air mass right there. All right, looking at some more of your questions here. Commute from Marysville to Kirkland, 6:30 a.m. Could be slick. Stick to the main roads would be my advice. Rack Mon on Facebook. What do I think the passes on Sunday? Passes by Sunday should be okay. If anything, it'll be wet. All right. Looking at the YouTube comments here. Adam Jones over on YouTube. I have not officially like gotten to work with Reed Timmer, but I do have his phone number. I text him every now and then, and we've met a couple of times. Yeah, okay, so over on YouTube, no one's hearing that voice glitch, so I'm not sure what that was. That's weird. People over on Facebook are getting like a voice glitch. Hood Canal seems tricky with the scouring, with the cold, with the warm. I'm hoping that doesn't mean we'll get hammered with ice. Yeah, Jamie. That's a good point. Let's see. Looking at the European here. And then I'm going to go home here in a couple minutes. I'm going to go hop in my hot tub when it's like 10 degrees outside. Load. By the way, if you're watching over on YouTube, my super chats just got enabled today. It's pretty cool. So you can get super chats or super stickers. When you get a super chat, basically it brings your question up to the top. It's like a way to support content creators and things like that. And yeah, it's like stars over on Facebook. Okay, this is probably finally loaded. So up there by Seebeck, shows getting maybe close to a 1/4 inch of ice. But yeah, if the cold air hangs on any longer out there like it does sometimes. But the thing is let's look at the winds. There's not going to be cold air coming out of the north. Man, internet is slow right now here. Okay. So there is going to be easterly winds up against Seebeck until early in the morning, 7 a.m., and then the winds will turn southerly. And by the time the winds turn southerly there, that's when we can kind of expect that it's close to game over and most of the area warms above freezing. Justin, I might live stream my drive home just because the roads are so slick out there. All right, looking over on Facebook. By the way, if you're watching on Facebook, go ahead and heart this post if you love snow. Go ahead and wow it if you hate snow. And if you're watching over on YouTube, you can comment with a heart emoji if you love snow, or comment with a wow emoji if you hate snow. What time Thursday evening is this event supposed to begin? About 7 p.m. down on the southwest coast, and later in the night for areas like Tacoma. We can look at the onset on the most recent high resolution run of the NAM 3KM real quick. Yeah. Watching on both, says Nipco Disc. That's great. All right. So the NAM 3KM has actually snow starting on the southwest Washington around 4 p.m., 5 p.m., 6 p.m. So a little bit earlier in the afternoon, starting off as snow down there, which would be nice. And then later in the night, it brings in the other types of precipitation. Some areas might actually get sleet, like switch from being snow over to sleet. And then as the layer of shallow air at the surface, it gets even shallower, be freezing rain. And we can see what the most recent NAM3 cam is thinking for freezing rain real quick. So yeah, Jamie, the NAM3 cam gives you like 0.3 inches of freezing rain out there. Out there by, I think that's Shelton area there. Just to the north of Shelton. It gives you guys like a ½ inch. Yeah, it could be bad out there by the Hood Canal in the West Kitsap. A lot of freezing rain out there by North Bend. And it does give a decent amount for the Everett area, almost a ½ inch. And then out there by like Sultan, ½ inch. And then as you get further into that valley, even more. Southwest Washington gets hammered. Up there by Nia Bay, it has almost getting like a ½ inch to an inch of freezing rain. Nasty. Okay, let's look at what the temperatures are doing real quick. Let's see if it's cooled down even more at Arlington. I'm going to refresh this map. I am at my office currently. All right. So Arlington actually warmed up just a hair. I wonder if there's clouds developing. That would kind of prevent it from getting colder if there weren't any more heat escaping from the surface. There in north of Marysville is down to 6. It looks like the internet's still not on at my house. $17 an index. All right. Okay, folks. I know I probably didn't get around to answering all of your questions, but I hope this was semi-helpful to you. Kara asks, can you get freezing rain at surface temps above freezing? No, you cannot. Yeah, so if you're wondering how I'm going to cover this event, Thursday night, I'm not quite sure what my plan is for Thursday night, but on Friday morning, I am probably going to go down to the South Sound, areas around like Federal Way, Tacoma, Seattle, and cover the freezing rain event, I think. Okay, folks, thanks for hanging out with me tonight. I'm going to make sure I didn't miss. All right, cool. I will talk to you guys later.